Hello and welcome to another top 10 thingies of Final Fantasy XIV. Today we'll be taking a look at water fountains. It's very unlikely you haven't stumbled across a water fountain, but the sheer variety of water fountains in this game is quite staggering, and it was really hard to find one that wasn't interesting. So let's go take a look at just a few of them. We'll be starting with a rather beautiful one that a lot of people probably didn't get the time to appreciate due to it being right at the beginning of Sandoria, the Sandoria raid for FF11. In this plaza, we are greeted with these massive sword fountains on this very large platform, making for quite the stunning water fountain, and one that feels very unique even among the ones we will be seeing today. For FF11 players, this must have been really cool to see, being upresed and modeled in such high detail compared to what it was in FF11. Due to how artistic this water fountain feels, it's hard to even really classify it with how distinct it feels, even among the ones that we'll be seeing later on. The only downside to this one would be getting up there to clean it, I guess. Over in Solution 9, in the Recreation Zone, right to the sides of the Arcadia, we find these two symmetrically placed water fountains that have many jets skewed all around them in a rather over-the-top amount. These ones ended up having some dazzling effects to them in terms of colors, and ended up being one of the more colorful water fountains that we will see today. If you look into the small pool around it, the basin seems to be some sort of metallic texture, and as you drag your camera across various angles, you get some pleasant reflections beaming off and creating all these bizarre shines to it. And right adjacent to both of these water fountains are these numerous jets strewn all along this, what appears to be some sort of canal, as it has a pier, but no boats in sight. I guess you probably wouldn't need a boat here. So maybe this is more of a sort of splash fountain area where people can go in and play and wade around in the waters, though it's hard to really say. It could strictly just be decorative. Maybe you'd upset a few guards if you tried to splash around in these. But with this, we also get even more brilliant colors, and it seems like all the lights within Solution 9 end up reflecting off of these waters, and we end up getting all these beautiful violets and blues throughout the waters if you look at them through various angles. Some people have missed some of these, as you'll mostly be running back and forth past these very quickly to get into the Arcadian for the raid series for Dawntrail, but never really spending much time directly outside the doors. Any excuse to come to the Swallow's Compass is always welcome, as it's one of my favorite dungeons. Right near the beginning, in the Heart of Water, past this geomancer, and hidden behind these curtains of water, we find our water fountains that we are seeking. How these are shaped almost reminds me of a cascading fondue pot, if that makes sense, as they create this very steady curtain all around the edges of this, what seems to be some sort of stone or marble for the central fixture, though it could even possibly be a type of jade, given the original owner of the Swallow's Compass, and that this is possibly a treasure room, as people might be surprised that jade is very well known for its green color, but jade comes in quite a lot of different colors. Upon closer observation, it could just be that they very much exaggerate the wetness levels of the texture of this stone, given that it is constantly being submerged in water. This could be their justification for doing that. But I like to think it could be some sort of more rare mineral that they're using here. Given how these are shaped, I have to assume there's some sort of self-sustaining mechanism within these. Maybe it's etherical magic or something else similar to that, given how old the Geomancer's magics are. Looking at the spout of these at the top as well, they did a very good job of making it feel believable as an object, which is really funny for something that we instantly pass by in the dungeon. This may sound a little silly, as you could say this for a lot of objects in Final Fantasy, but I feel like these would make for a very good housing item, given their size. Now for one of my favorite fountains we will be visiting, the fountain within the Phantom Village. Here we get these massive waterfalls cascading down into the more traditional water fountain at the front. In the back little chamber of these, we get this little pooled out area which you can indeed swim in. I love all the little details in the textures on these ones, with all the various algae and other flora overgrown on the rocks, as if to help emphasize that this place has been very long abandoned and nature has completely started to take over the area. This one as well, you can land on top of it if you go from the very top floor up above, making for a bit of a cheeky little AFK spot for passers-by trying to go to Occult Crescent. And below on the basin here, we have these aetherical crystals lined into the edge, almost serving as a submersible light source. And indeed, when we come here at night, it lights up the water fountain. Very pretty. And with all this, we also get some nice benches nearby to sit. Just a fantastic little hangout spot that I feel they did a good job of. We are heading back to Jeuno at Lower Jeuno, the small hub area for the FF11 raid series. And in here, if you've done the raid series, it will be hard to miss this one. I love how this one is crafted. It has this very natural feel to it with all these unfinished carvings into the rocks, as if it was carved on the spot where it is instead of being moved here from a different location. Even how the water falls down here from various different points instead of falling down evenly all around helps emphasize this feeling of it was carved on the spot and wasn't necessarily always intended to be here at the highest craft. Yet at the basin of it, we get these rather intricate engravings on the stone. And directly adjacent to this, we get this small little park area that the players can hang out in together while they wait for their cues. Rather fitting to have all these shades gather around as well, conversing about all manner of things related to FF11. Which, if you've never given all these shades a listen, they have quite a few references to hand out. This is probably the coziest water fountain we'll run into on this trip. It's a shame it ended up getting tucked away in such a remote location that you probably won't often find people at anymore. Right as we enter Radz-at-Han and you come up the stairwell, you are greeted with Alzadaal's Peace and this industrial, almost steampunk-like water fountain system. This one seems to be almost entirely made out of metals, which is quite different from the ones we've been seeing so far. Maybe some sort of brass or likely a coated metal, as I could imagine if this was not coated, it would be very expensive to make. Even the floors of the little pond out area for the water to flow in is very decorative, with all this gold trimming in between the tiled patterns, and some excellent flora as well. The larger draining pipes almost give the vibes of an elephant trunk, which I wouldn't be surprised if that was the reference they are going for here, as there is quite a lot of elephant-themed things in Radz-at-Han, which makes sense. This is another water fountain you can get on top of as well. Well, kinda on top of, as I couldn't get all the way on top. Maybe you could finagle your way up there somehow, but I could only get so high. They do a great job with all these tiny little spouts all over as well. I highly recommend revisiting Radz-at-Han if you haven't, to really explore all the areas. Another fantastic looking water fountain, and if you watched my Strange and Mundane Places on FF14 video, you probably recognize this. Way off to the side in Idylshire, we get one of our very few named water fountains. This one being called the Snail. This water fountain is very isolated and is surrounded by all these various flowers, making for a rather stellar sight. We even get these little cute benches to sit on surrounding the water fountain as well. And I don't think I need to point out the snail shape of the floor that we see here. If you head closer to the main fountain section, you can see the snail-like symbol on it, as well as some ineligible writing on the side of the faces. I like this detail as it feels like erosion has completely taken over the whatever text was once here due to probably the lack of caretaking that occurred here. I assume the Charlanes were a bit too busy in their books. There's also this funny little thing where there's a tiny gap in between part of the water fountain. I guess the devs didn't expect us to be peeking in so closely at this. This is another one that also has some other nice lighting at night that we get to enjoy with these 4 lanterns placed on top. Within these gilded halls of the Golden Saucer, we find some rather flashy water fountains, fitting for the setting, I'd say. These have some rather large water spouts to them, and every single one of these fountains has these series of spotlights circling around them. But if you look up, there's not exactly any source, so who knows where these are coming from. Over in Nordvant, in Mheg, a almost untraveled location at this point. If we take these pink cart tracks all the way across, we will be greeted with a very large and colorful water fountain. This one is just teeming with the flora themes and does a good job of doing so. This one you can also go into, and given the lore of this location, I wouldn't be surprised if this was intended to be a splash fountain. Though that being said, it's a little difficult for my Mikote to even crawl up into. So I can't imagine kids have too much ease getting in here either. And depending when you come here, you might be greeted by a few little friends as well. All the various flowers and lily pads really makes me love how colorful this one ends up being because of that. Though, I have to imagine that's quite the hassle to keep clean. Now, this was suggested in the comments, and I'll probably keep doing this since I like the idea of it. We are on to our dishonorable mention, and that's being the water fountain in the Grand Cosmos. As you exit through these doors, you are greeted with a beautiful mansion in the distance, and all these various gardens for the player to crawl across. But in the center of it is a rather mundane water fountain compared to its surroundings. The simplicity of this is rather jarring when you take the minute to observe it more closely. And they even ended up doing the splash effect on the heights incorrectly, and we have a gap in between it. Yoshi P, this clearly needs to be a priority for next patch. What's even more funny is around the garden, we have even more superb looking water fountains in the surrounding area that are getting their glory taken away by this centralized water fountain, as these ones have way more details to them. And now for definitely my favorite one. Over in the Lochs, if you head to Terncliff, a location used for various quests, notably the raid series where you fight the various weapons, we are greeted with a marvelous looking water fountain that seems to come with everything a water fountain would want. We have these jets of water that are streamed along the edges, but not too many that it's a little jarring. Not only that, it has light fixtures all over it, which looks amazing at night. And these goofy little duck statue things, I'm not sure exactly what kind of creature they're supposed to be. I'm sure they're supposed to represent something in Stormblood, but they just look like cute little ducks to me. Along with that, in the water pool, we have these tiles scattered all around that are very chaotic and make for a nice contrast with all the water ripples across the surface. Even coming here during the day is quite nice as well. Though my only real complaint would be that we can see somebody sitting on the water fountain edge, but we aren't allowed to do that. Come on. The only thing that could really make this area better is if it wasn't an instance location, as then it would be a place where everyone could hang out together. Well, that will do it for another top 10 thingies of Final Fantasy. I'm sure I've missed your favorite water fountain, or something adjacent to a water fountain. Up here, another video. Down here, another video. Over here, subscribe. Thank you to my member. And thank you for watching. Bye bye. Bye.